This is not normal government. This is not good government. This is not a government that likes direct democracy, no. It's a government that loves directing democracy, power, and control. You know, Dr. Jared Wesley, political scientist at U of A, recently wrote on his Substack an extensive article about how we need to be communicating with Albertans about the crisis of liberal democracy in Alberta these days. Dr. Wesley says, quote, "The Alberta government's approach to politics is not normal." Its supporters will say otherwise, but you can remind them that no other governments in Canada are rigging rules to support their political aims with as much frequency. Dr. Wesley goes on. Other governments may seek to consolidate power in the Premier's office, but none are actively removing checks and balances to abuse their power to this extent. This is a neutral voice, Mr. Speaker. This is not a partisan individual. This is someone with deep knowledge and experience in politics. And he is calling his government out. He lays out three very simple principles by which to judge a government's behavior. He says, we look at whether they believe that everyone must play by the same rules. As Dr. Wesley says, the most basic expectation in any democracy, no one gets special treatment, no one gets to rewrite the rules simply because they don't like the outcome. But what we are debating here right now, Mr. Speaker, is a motion enabled by the government changing the rules in this House to make it easier for them to limit debate. This is a government that thrives on changing the rules to its benefits because it can't stand on its merits. And Dr. Wesley goes on, he says, the second principle is government must be accountable. Quote, in a democracy, governments have to explain themselves, face scrutiny, accept limits on their power. Our institutions are built around the principle that elites will hold each other in check and will hold them accountable through elections. He says those institutions are eroding in Alberta today. And he specifically speaks about limits on legislative debate, including the routine use of time allocation to push bills without scrutiny. And again, that is precisely what we have in this motion today, Mr. Speaker. This government ducking democratic accountability, as we've seen them repeatedly do, because their record is catching up with them, Mr. Speaker. Their actions, their behavior, their repeated self-dealing for themselves and their friends. Albertans are sitting up and taking notice, and this government does not want to face the scrutiny of this legislature, so they are limiting our time for debate. Let's talk about some of those bills that, in fact, they are limiting that time of debate on. Bill 32, electoral boundaries, Mr. Speaker, when we were talking about the degradation of democracy in our province, Susan Sampson, former mayor of Sylvan Lake, member of the Electoral Boundaries Committee, here's what she has to say about the government's actions, Mr. Speaker. I am totally demoralized and dismayed that our work was discounted and not accepted. This government rejected their report and instead has their committee of MLAs that will redraw the maps. She says, quote, this is a real stab in the heart for democracy, grassroots democracy being challenged. And the government House leaders says we have to race that through as quickly as possible. He says that's for the good of Albertans? No, Mr. Speaker, that is to the detriment of every Albertan as this government continues to degrade our democracy in this province. Bill 28. By which the Minister of Municipal Affairs is giving himself more power to investigate a library than the Minister of Justice is willing to give Elections Alberta to investigate the most significant breach of data in Alberta's history. Keith Garine, columnist in the Edmonton Journal, he calls Bill 28, quote, a massive unaccountable sledgehammer to hold over public libraries. Another massive invasion of Albertans' privacy, Mr. Speaker. And again, this government says we have to limit debate. We have to force that through as quickly as possible. And they claim that's for the good of Albertans, Mr. Speaker? No. This government only acts for the good of itself. This time allocation motion today is about undermining Albertans' access to democracy. It's about undermining accountability. It's about this government ducking and hiding at a time when they are under increasing scrutiny, and rightfully so. As more and more people stand up and say, Mr. Speaker, this is not normal government. This is not good government. This is not a government listening to the people of Alberta. This is not a government, Mr. Speaker, that likes direct democracy. No. It's a government that loves directing democracy, power, and control. And that's why we'll vote against this motion.